Hello. Do we have anyone on yet? I don't think we do. I can see some people hopping on. Hello, everybody that is leaping on. It is lovely to have you here. Good stuff. What can I see? So,
Hiya.
hey. Yay, we've got a few people. This is very exciting. This is the first time I've done this kind of session. So I'm incredibly excited right now that I've got a few people coming on, which is totally awesome. So what I want to do with this session, basically, it's sort of up to you guys what we cover based on your own business. So what I want to do is, if anyone has a question, anything that they want to run by me and run by the group as well, then if you just pop the word question into the chat box, I will basically take them in order that people write the word question in the chat box. I will unmute you. You can, tell us a little bit about your business, your situation, what type of things you're pondering on, what type of questions you have, and then we can kind of try and brainstorm, come up with ideas or whatever might be good for you, whatever it is that you're pondering on, not sure about at the moment, thinking over, thinking of tweaking or pivoting, thinking of changing up what you do based on the current situation that we are in. So don't all rush at once. So if you want to put question into the chat box for somebody who wants to start, somebody has to be the first person. So it would be lovely if you hop on. I think most of you probably know me by the pure fact that you're on here, but I run a Net & Co UK-based accounting firm. So I want to basically kind of give back during this session and support anybody that needs to. Okay, so Richard is saying he's a tour guide and has his own business, paying PAYE to him and love, who I assume is your other half. Richard, shall I unmute you and we can have a little chat? How are you?
Sure, I'm okay. How are you?
Good, I am well, thank you. I'm not too bad at all. So is there something that you are wondering about strategically at the moment? Kind of where are your thoughts just now?
Right, a few things. Firstly, we have our own business. It's the two of us, and we are paying ourselves PAYE up to the tax. The rest in dividends.
Yeah.
So of course, in terms of being tour guide, we're not working.
You're not working.
So you said about the furloughing.
So you're wondering about whether you can furlough yourselves?
Yes, I think. Am I right in saying we can probably do one of us and not both?
Well, there's a couple of bits to consider when you're thinking about furlough, because you can technically furlough yourselves as directors. The issue is that, and you can continue your statutory duties as well. So you're allowed to be furloughed and continue your director's legal statutory duties. That is a new kind of bit that came out towards the end of last week. So that is allowable. So you could technically both furlough yourself. Now, the little bit that's a bit funny here is that many people, and this may or may not apply to you, but many people want to be doing some kind of work in their business just now, keeping in touch with past customers, still doing marketing and social media, teeing up future work. And in which case that is deemed work, and therefore you cannot furlough if you are working. So there's this kind of situation where it's like technically directors can furlough. However, if you are wanting to kind of keep things ticking over in the business from a sales, marketing, branding perspective, that's going to be problematic to furlough. So that's kind of where that sits. Does that make sense, Richard?
It does, yes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming at the moment you are kind of still doing bits of, as I say, marketing and those kinds of
social media, that sort of thing. Yes,
exactly.
Well, just me though, not my wife. So
okay, so if your wife's not and you are, then it may make sense to furlough her and then keep you on standard. Now, in terms of, I'd like to speak about the type of thing that you might be putting out there just now. Since you're a tour guide, I'm wondering if you're doing any kind of, because what just came to my head at the moment was, I wonder if you can do virtual tours using Google Earth. or Google Street View,
Yes.
like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got a couple of. There's also sort of podcasts I want to do as well. I mean, I've written a book on the Beatles. I'm a Beatles tour guide, basically.
Okay.
I've written a book that's available on Amazon as an ebook.
Okay, nice. So you can promote that at the moment and stuff as well.
Got a few things like that, but I mean, my main, but 90% of my income is doing tours. So
yeah, it's the physical tour
at the moment. So yeah. But keeping the word out there, basically. But yes, Google Earth, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be quite fun. I mean, I don't know how it would work from a technical point of view, whether it would or not, but it might be worth giving it a go and seeing, you might just get some people. It might just be a way to sort of not necessarily generate revenue at this time, but build your list, because if people are interested in doing it virtually, then potentially at some point, they're interested in actually doing it. So that might be
the idea now is basically to, there's always going to be pent up demand when tours start again, but to get my name out there as much as possible. So when it does start out again, to be in pole position sort of thing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's the idea.
Like a good plan. Okay, awesome.
Richard.
Good.
Thank you.
Helpful.
Yeah, that's good.
Good. I am glad. So let's have a look at who we have up next. Karen is on here. Karen is saying, will the 80% of HMRC salary platform be straightforward? Karen, I'm going to unmute you. First of all, Karen, why don't you tell us what you do? If you can hear me, maybe you're multitasking and doing other things as well at the same time. So maybe you're rushing around back to your device. Can you hear us, Karen? No? I'll skip you for now, Karen, and then I'll come back to you. If you are back with us, then you can let us know. Sapphire says, if you're a property investor and submit self-employment accounts, what are we entitled to? Great question, Sapphire. Let me unmute you. I'm just pressing that 4 times and it went unmute and mute a lot. Hey, Sapphire, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. So I'm assuming you're investing in your own name, and therefore all your income from that is going straight into self-assessment. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, lovely. This is one that appears not to be covered by any piece of support at the moment. We can't find anything. I had somebody that I was speaking to in exactly this position yesterday, and it doesn't look like, unfortunately, Sapphire, that you're entitled to any support just now, other than things like mortgage holidays, which are potentially being offered by the banks. Of course, the downside of that is that your interest becomes greater and you have potentially higher repayments in the future with mortgage holidays as well. But that is about the only thing just now that we can see for people who are property investors or living solely off rental property income that they have. You're not deemed to be self-employed under the definition of the word, under the legislation. And therefore you don't fall into that at all. And of course you're not director of a limited company because you're not doing it through a company, so you don't fall into that piece of support legislation.
Well, actually, I am director of my actual group, Savvy Women Group. I'm a director on.
Okay, so you have another business that you're a director of? Okay, sure. So for that income, then you could look at that side of things. But specifically for this property income, there is no financial support currently available. Now, we do know that in other countries, things have come out for people who are landlords, and there has been support in other countries when they have been locked down for a period of time. But currently in the UK, there's nothing at all. And I suspect that you might be getting potentially renters having issues as well that are then kind of saying to you, we've got a problem here.
Actually, I haven't got any
nothing yet.
Nothing yet. So that's still coming through. I'm able to still pay my mortgages and everything.
Okay,
but
good.
I just find it that even if you're an employer or employee, there's just nothing out there. They're telling you to claim benefits, which 100% I'd rather sit and
Yeah,
not claim anything.
Absolutely. But presumably your income has not dropped at the moment then, Sapphire,
No,
either. So you're at
no,
least in a positive position
that's right.
currently. Actually, your income hasn't changed.
Yeah,
Of course, we don't know what will happen in the future with that.
that's right.
If rents change, if things change in the country, if your renters have issues then and all that kind of stuff, we don't know. But at the moment, unfortunately, Sapphire, nothing at all for property
Appreciate that.
investors. That's no problem at all.
Thanks.
And what about your other business?
So my group, I transitioned from my other company. I've been in business 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I transitioned last year and formed a group of companies. So I know I won't be entitled on that either. So I'm kind of just sitting there as just waiting for it to just open back up, to be quite honest. And
yeah, I think a lot of people are. A lot of people are, if we knew when it was going to end, a lot of people would have a tally chart on their wall counting down the days.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. Okay, good. Is that been helpful, Sapphire?
Yeah, it has. Thank you very much.
Okay, lovely. That's no problem at all. Lovely. So Donna is saying, what trends do you expect to see as we emerge from the lockdown and begin to recover? What strategies, adaptations are you considering to help your business evolve? Awesome question, Donna. Very, very nice. I know Donna. Donna is a client of mine, so I don't need to ask her what she does, but for the purposes of everyone else on the call, why don't you let everyone know about what your business is, and then I will answer your question as well.
Yeah, so I have, I suppose, like a group of film schools that teach children and teenagers how to make their own film productions. Before all this started, we'd begun a franchise network. So I now kind of have a very different kind of client there, or customer as well. And at the minute we're kind of, we're shut down. We can't really operate. There's a few things that we're kind of figuring out, but realistically, so we're on a bit of a shutdown for either 3 months or 6 months or whatever this ends up being. So, I'm quite interested. I think the recovery is going to be a really interesting time. I think that, we're not going to go, there'll be a new normal. We're not going to go back to the way that things were before. And I'm expecting that we'll see probably quite a lot of changes in everything, really. Society setup, tax policy. So I'm just interested to get sort of people's views on that and how they think it might impact their business and what sort of things other people are expecting to see, and I guess kind of strategies to manage and cope with that, and evolve and become something new, I guess.
Makes sense. And I completely agree with you, Donna. I think we are going to see quite a lot of changes after we come through the other side of this. Unfortunately, I do expect we'll fall into recession. We've borrowed a huge amount. Interest rates are incredibly low. There's not many levers that can be pulled to get us out of that. We expect that there will, despite these packages, we expect that there will be higher unemployment, because even once we come out of coronavirus, it will take potentially companies a little while to get things back up to where they were before. And in the meantime, then people will unfortunately lose their jobs as a result of that. That's completely what I expect to happen. And as I say, we just don't know, what the effect of recession will be on getting businesses to where they were before. They may be very, very different. I also expect that people's buying habits might change a bit from stuff to experiences, and wanting to be with people more and spend their money on that type of thing after this as well, rather than the physical stuff that we've got lying around our house. We're probably fed up of the stuff that's lying around our house by that point in time, and potentially I expect that kind of, as I say, that experience thing, experiential things to sell quite well after this. So people, you know, and people doing stuff in groups, so family parties, more of that kind of thing. Where people are just wanting to be around other people. Perhaps there may even be an uptake in things like people, you know, having dinner with friends, going on holidays with friends, those kinds of things as well, where they have missed that human contact and are just valuing those relationships much more highly than they perhaps did before. Not that they wouldn't have done, but, you know, they were maybe taken a bit for granted previously as well. And when we come away from people, we, you know, we realize just quite how much we miss human contact as well. So I expect that to kind of be an interesting change too. I think the workplace will change massively. You know, if companies are able to operate with 100% of their staff working from home, also whilst half of them are homeschooling children, then surely they can operate quite differently when the kids go back to school, because this, you know, the members of staff will be much more productive when the kids aren't around, let's face it, for those of us that have got small children running about, so, or partners in the house and all that kind of stuff. So I expect working practices to change quite a bit as well, and that will be really interesting to see what effect that has both on the business, you know, the companies themselves, the individuals, and things like their mental health and what people start to value as well. You know, do they value a big job in the city with a high wage, or do they value actually being paid less, getting to work from home and not having a 3-hour commute each day? Those kinds of things I think will start to play a lot more into people's thought processes as well when they're looking at roles. People being much more willing to remote work, which for a small business is really helpful as well, because it means that your pool of people may open up significantly of who you might, you know, have as people who are working with you. It will also be very, very interesting to see if there is a drive towards people favoring being employees over favoring being self-employed, because we know that the financial support packages at the moment are much better for employees. They're getting 80% of salary, whereas directors of limited companies, to all intents and purposes, are getting pretty much close to zero. And even self-employed people, they're getting 80% of trading profits. So if they have costs, it doesn't touch the sides, basically. So it will be interesting to see what effect that has on people wanting the security of a job and what that looks like, versus the potential redundancies that we're going to see potentially after the end of it as well. And how that balances out, I'm not sure, but it'll be it'll be a interesting one to see, you know, what tips the scale with that one as well. What strategies and adaptations am I considering to help my business evolve? Great question. I don't know. No, I do know a little bit. I do know a little bit. I mean, during this time, I feel like it's a big time for me to support as many people as I can, to give back as much as I possibly can. I am, you know, recording a ridiculous amount of videos and putting out as much content as I possibly can at this point in time, because I think that's really important for people just now. And I think actually it's important for every business owner to be producing a lot of content, to not be shying back, but to try and increase visibility and expertise. I think after this point in time, people will much more highly value the value of a service that they're being provided. I think that will be incredibly important to people as well, because we'll be coming out of a time where people have been much more careful with their spending and, you know, have been looking at things slightly differently. I also think we'll see a lot of people assessing their values and whether their business aligns with their values at this point in time. I think when you have time on your hands and when, you know, you're feeling that kind of, you know, pain and pressure of the situation, I think that is a time when people kind of look inwardly at their own values and their own feelings about things. And I think that will also change people's buying habits as well. I think people will base their decisions a lot more on those kinds of things too. So for me, in terms of business evolving beyond this time, it's a lot of it is about supporting people through this time to see businesses out the other side. You know, no one wants to see mass business failure during this time or in the recession beyond. And so for me, it's about anything we can do to, you know, stop that as much as possible. You know, of course, there will be casualties. There just will. That is what happens in these situations. That is what happens in a recession. But there will be winners as well. And, you know, not the type of winners that are selling hand sanitizer for marked up prices, but the types of winners that are doing things in alignment with their values, that are doing things, you know, in alignment with how the country feels and all that kind of stuff. That's very, you know, it's a very different position. Does that answer your question, Donna?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've rabbited a lot there.
No. I think the working practices stuff is really relevant, and I think we have a question because it kind of touches in the values category, I suppose. But we work with a lot of self-employed filmmakers, yes. and I've had queries about whether or not we move to sort of more, that's something more based on like a, I don't know, like a temping sort of hourly rate system. Anyway, that was before this, but I think I think that really gives us something to consider there anyway, because it is about sort of where you sit, I suppose, in terms of ethics and so there's quite a lot, I think, quite a lot to consider there. Thank you.
That's all right. You are welcome. You know, I'm here anytime if you need me. So let's have a look at the next question. Let's go back to Karen and see if Karen is able to speak now. So Karen said, will the 80% HMRC salary platform be straightforward? Karen, are you with us? No? Yes? No idea. The short answer, incidentally, to Karen's question is we have no idea. We have no idea. It's not open yet. We've not had a preview, any of that at all. So we just don't know if how user-friendly the platform will be. We hope it will be, but you know, who knows? We just don't know at this point in time. Let's have a look. So Kirsten says, my question is not really related to the coronavirus situation. Completely fine, Kirsten. I am an Amazon seller and it's a VAT question. So may not be relevant to anyone on the call. Kirsten, why don't you give us the situation and the question? I will unmute you and we can cover it. Oh, I think I'm pressing unmute as you're pressing mute. There we go.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you. You can hear me?
We can hear you. No problem at all.
Thank you. So I'm an Amazon seller, and I have a limited company set up in the UK, but I only sell on the US platform. So 100% of my trading income is made in the States. Okay. So I am not liable to pay VAT.
You are not.
On that.
Correct.
But recently Amazon have changed their invoicing situation when it comes to advertising on their platform, and they're now charged if you don't have a VAT ID number,
they are charging you VAT.
And I've tried to ask this question to HMRC, but they just kept referring me back to the website. They were very helpful.
You get stuck in loops sometimes.
Yes. So I wanted to, because now my advertising costs have gone up overnight by 20%.
Yes.
If I register, I know I can register for VAT voluntarily.
You can.
But because I don't actually pay VAT, will I be able to claim the VAT back on my advertising costs and not sort of open myself up to having to
do anything funny?
You know where I'm going?
Yeah, I completely understand your question. So you sell everything in the US, so you don't need to charge VAT. Should you voluntarily register for VAT in the UK so you can claim back the VAT you're being charged? Yes. So the short answer is you can submit an application to do that. And what that would mean is that you would be able to reclaim the VAT charged on any of, any VAT invoices you receive. You would be required to submit quarterly VAT returns, and then you would receive a VAT repayment. There's a little bit of a however in amongst this though, and that is, I know, there often is, isn't there? And that is that when you register for VAT, you have to declare if you will be in a consistent VAT refund position.
Right.
And they can refuse your voluntary registration on that basis. So they can say, actually, no, we're not going to refund you. You don't have to be VAT registered, and we don't want to just keep paying you out VAT.
Oh.
So that is the position that you can register technically. They may say, no, we're not accepting that registration. But there is no harm in filling in the form and finding out. As I say, that would mean that you would have to submit quarterly VAT returns. So there'll be some increased admin there, but it may very well be worth it depending on your spend that you're
it would definitely be
doing
worth
with
it,
Amazon.
So when I'm not of course, I'm not asking you to tell me to do things the wrong way or anything like that. But if when I made this application,
yes,
I just didn't
mention it.
Yes.
Well, it does say that you are declaring that everything that you say is true and fair and valid and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that, you know, that is the position on it, that you do not only have to tick the box, but you also have to declare that the information you're providing is true. So I will leave that with you in terms of that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's all right, Kirsten. No problem at all. Is that being helpful?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful. No problem. We've got Richard. Richard has another question. Much of the rest of our income is dividends from the company. I suppose we can't claim for that lost revenue.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard. No, any dividend income that you receive is not covered at all. And there's a kind of basic reason for it, and that is that dividends are paid to shareholders. So you don't have to be a director to receive a dividend. And if you hold any shares, you may be entitled to receive a dividend in any company. So the problem is that, first off, it's not just directors that hold shares. You have institutional investors that hold shares. You have pension funds that hold shares. And dividends are paid based basically on a business's financial performance. So we would have a problem if the chancellor said, I'm going to pay out on dividends. There would be a massive issue in that, you know, every single business whose performance had reduced over this time, who usually pays their shareholders dividends, all the shareholders would go, well, wait, hang on a minute. I'm receiving 20% less dividend than I used to, or 50%, or not any, and I used to receive it. And that was part of my income. You know, if let's say you had shares in, to pick, you know, one of the airlines, for example, you would, let's ignore EasyJet because they declared a dividend the other day and that's all a bit, let's ignore that one. But let's say you had shares in an airline, you'd be going, well, I'm not expecting my dividend anymore. And you could have enough shares that would be money you lived off. So that could cause a big problem. They can't pay out every single person that holds shares in every company based on their investment, and that's going to be the big issue with dividends. I know a lot of people are calling for some kind of legislation around this, like what can we do for limited companies, because most people pay themselves a small salary and a dividend. And the big issue with this is going to be that it's not just directors of limited companies that are impacted. So Richard.
At the moment, okay, thank you.
That's all right. So there, Karen's back. She doesn't know how to switch the microphone on. I switched it on, Karen. So now she's gone, and she's gone as well. Okay. Louise, let's have a read. Okay, so Louise says, I am a self-employed healer and yoga teacher. All my work stopped overnight. I'm getting a few things online, which is the direction I'm heading anyway. Great. Doing business course with Sarah. Who I know. Yes, absolutely. I do know Sarah. Currently have 1 weekly class online, exploring getting my sound healing work online via recordings and Zoom, and about to launch a low-cost 17-day Get Calm guided meditation, movement, breathing challenge type course. Interested to hear what you feel is the way forward for this type of work. Just heard you saying people may be valuing mental health more and but may also have less income through. Is Louise? There you are, Louise. You are on the call. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good. So I am a firm believer that I think people need mental health support both at this time and they will do beyond as well, because we're in a challenging situation and that can throw up huge amounts of stresses. Now, the question at this very point in time is, do people have the capacity to realize that if they're kind of stuck in struggle and stress, and do they have the actual time if they are working from home full time, homeschooling 2 kids full time, and they've got a partner who's also working from home full time, and they've got a dog, and they've got do people have the actual time to be able to encompass this thing in their day? Now, they may very well need it, and they probably do very well need it if they're in that position, quite frankly. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Saying that, I spoke to a client earlier this morning who she's a life coach, but a lot of her work is focused on people's mental health and that kind of stuff. And she was just saying she has a webinar tomorrow, and she's had the highest registration rate that they've ever had for a webinar just now. So there are people who are very much, self-identifying that they do need this type of support. So in terms of your online classes and things, I would be doing as many of them as I possibly can if I were you, to reach as many people as I possibly can, and shouting from the rooftops that I'm doing it as well, because it is incredibly important for people just now, asking people who've registered to share it with their friends. All those kinds of things is going to be a good thing.
There's a bit of a kind of glitch in a way with teaching yoga, in that from an insurance point of view, you're not actually supposed to have new people in your classes if you're teaching live online. I think people get around it by doing it via video, recording a video and then putting the video out there.
So almost having like a pre-recorded, like you have to do this before you come to class type video?
No, actually recording the class.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I agree that, I've always said I wouldn't teach yoga online, because you need to be there with people.
I'm sure.
But I mean, the class I'm teaching at the moment, it's really small. It's only 4 people. They were the people from my existing class that were kind of tech savvy enough to think that they could cope with Zoom. So there's a couple that have said, oh no, I can't do the technology. So they're kind of waiting it out. But in terms of advertising new yoga classes, I can't.
It's gonna fall outside. From an insurance
point of view, I can't really do that. But from courses and sort of things like guided meditation and.
I just wonder whether insurers are, kind of changing anything around that, given the current situation we're in.
I don't know.
But if you don't agree with it morally anyway, then it's kind of that bit is a little bit irrelevant. What about the other stuff that you do as well, the kind of healing type work? Is that something you're happy to deliver online?
Yes, a lot of it works, energetically through the internet amazingly, but it does. It's really powerful still. I think the issue with that probably is the money side of things, and I've seen Jamie Kelly's comment below mine. I'm not going down the route of offering a load of stuff for free, because I think in the long run that would be the end of my business if I and
I don't think you should offer a lot of stuff for free. I don't think I don't think that people should suddenly start discounting what they offer or giving away free what people would usually pay for. I also, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way at all, Louise, I mean this in the nicest possible way. We tend to find people who are healers, therapists, things like that, do default to let's give stuff away, let's do it for free, because that's in their nature.
Yes,
generally
I've kind of dealt with that and come out the other side.
Okay, good. Good. So that's kind of your recovering giving away for free.
Yeah, I mean, so actually I'm almost the other way now, in that I really know the value of what I offer, especially on a one-to-one healing basis.
So it's about communicating that value
and
then,
just getting through to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I think I mentioned when I was speaking to Donna as well, the value that people put on things is going to be stronger, both just now and beyond. And therefore for you, I think it's probably about messaging, making sure that people understand what you deliver, what the results are from working with you, all that kind of thing, and that you are able to do this all online, that there's no barrier with that as well. So I think that's going to be really important for you at this time. If I were you as well, I'd be doing a lot of videos and Facebook Lives around the healing work you do to display, if you can do any of it, to display the kind of work you do. If you're able to record sessions, for example, with people depending on what you're working on, and I realize there'll be some stuff that you might have to get them to sign or whatever, there may be stuff that you cannot share or show, but there might be some stuff that you can, and therefore or even just show what you're doing as opposed to what they're doing as well, or that kind of thing, just to display the value so that people understand. Which is
what I was thinking. Okay, so I think I'm on the right track. It's like, it's about being visible, and
it is,
and sharing what I do without giving too much of it away.
Yeah. I mean, remember as well, you can showcase a lot of what you do to people. They won't take action. Most people with free stuff never take action on it fully anyway. So there's a lot of stuff that you can share and show that people will do, but they will still come to you to pay for the thing.
Yes.
Because they have no intention of doing it on their own. They might like watching it, but they have no intention of actually delivering it on their own. So that's a really, really important thing to remember.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's quite reassuring, actually. Yeah, because people are going to have there's still going to be plenty of people with money.
There's still going to be people with money, and there's still going to be people with issues. So both of those things are still going to exist. And it's just about messaging and finding those people, getting your messaging right, getting your content right to reach them, and then calling them in to work with you.
Yeah.
And I want to also say it's completely okay to sell at this point in time. There's a really big difference between running a business for a profit and profiteering. There's a really, really big difference between those two things. Profiteering is illegal, and that is, making money through ill gains. Like we said, buying the hand sanitizer, marking it up 700% and trying to flog it on eBay. That is profiteering. Running a business and structuring your business, tweaking things in your business at this time so that you can be profitable, completely okay and completely allowed. And better than that, it's great. It's it's not even just completely okay, it's what we all want to be doing.
Yes. Yeah, great.
Good.
Thank you.
No problem at all, Louise. So who do we have up next? Let's have a look in the comments. For those of you that have joined, by the way, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm going down them in order, so you can pop stuff in there. So Jamie says she's similar to Louise, works in mental health and wellness, a director of her own company, but really a solopreneur working in a private practice. I'm able to move most of the current clients from face-to-face to online. However, some will need to reduce sessions and end due to financial constraints. There also seems to be collective understanding that these services should be for free and low cost. So difficult to know how to do business with society's expectations. Where is Jamie? Here is Jamie. Hey, Jamie, how are you? Oh, I can't hear you. I know.
Sorry.
There we go. There we go.
Brought that back. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have heard the conversation beforehand with Louise, because I got a lot from that, and extending my thinking as I'm going along. I think I have thought about it from a branding, messaging, SEO perspective, but to hear it from a more financial perspective would be really helpful.
Yeah.
I think in my situation, just to give it a bit of context, what I'm finding it really frustrating right now is that I've worked so hard on my branding and SEO to actually specialize in a very particular area, which is to help with first responders and healthcare professionals. And this is before everybody was in emergency crisis. And now everybody, whoever they are at whatever level, or just beginning counseling, yes, I offer that. I'll help and jump in and help for free for NHS, and there's all these initiatives taking place. It's taking place in my practices, somebody knows somebody, or even in different types of directories, they're calling for therapists to come forward for free. So it's like a global response as a therapist, a counselor. So now everybody is doing this thing that I used to be specialist in and offering for free, and I'm just like, okay,
that's incredibly frustrating.
So
what you used to be able to be one of the only people that offered this, and you were able to charge a fee accordingly to the people that you were helping
that used
and
to
supporting.
be my unique selling point, which in a way on my website it still looks unique, because I don't think people will have it on their website. They just kind of list various symptoms that they address, but I made it about the whole messaging, an actual service page, all about first responders and everything. And now it just feels like, okay, everyone's swooping in and doing it for free. And mindset and mind frame, am I able to charge? Which it's kind of set me off in a loop.
I'm not surprised. I can understand why that would have set you off in a loop. The short answer is yes, you are able to charge. You're the one that has the experience in this. You are the one that is the expert in this. The other people that are doing it for free are not the experts. They're stepping up to try and help, but they're not the experts in this area. You are. Therefore, you are still allowed to charge. Now, it is going to be more challenging, because if there are a lot of free things out there for people, it will be harder to get your ideal client to pay. It will. But also remember that there's lots of free tutorials on YouTube, and people still, approach the expert to do it for them or to talk them through it or those kinds of things. And, that's important. Also, I'm still paying my therapist. I'm not expecting her to work for free. We've moved from face-to-face to Zoom. There's no way I'm expecting her to deliver her expertise and support me at this point in time for no charge. And I would imagine that many of the people that you work with currently or have worked in the past and completely understand the value that you provide will also understand that your intense knowledge of this area is always going to be better than somebody who's just kind of volunteered to step up into this area. And I think you probably have some positioning around that you've been doing this, specializing in this area for a long period of time. And whilst you would love to be able to offer it for free, this is your business. And, in the same way, you don't really want to say this wording, but in the same way that they get paid for their job, this is your job. And this is, yes, you want to support them, but similarly, you cannot not support yourself in this period of time as well. Well, at any time, quite frankly. But, kind of, and I completely get how it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, I think it's just that fine balancing of, just sticking with it.
Yeah.
And then seeing if I find, of the various initiatives, is there one that I think could be met halfway? If it means onboarding new clients, if that I end up having a hard time with that.
Yeah, and maybe you look at other, not just the NHS workers, but maybe you look at, focusing a bit more at this time on other first responders like fire service and police service and those kinds of things that are perhaps not getting the same level of support as NHS workers are, but are still in need of support at this time because they are still, in a lot of unknown and a lot of flux and stuff too. Particularly the police officers, we've heard that, some of them are having a bit of a tough situation at the moment with what they're having to deal with. So, maybe you focus some of your efforts more on those first responders rather than potentially the NHS side of things, who are getting a lot of, as you say, stuff for free at the moment. But also, you know, current and past clients as well, I think would be good to focus on, you know, reaching out to people who you've worked with previously, who have got results with you previously, you know, seeing how they are at this time, and if they want to have a few sessions or whatever, you know, whatever that kind of package looks like, might be a good idea as well. And then, very similar to Louise, you know, lots of content around how this is your area of specialism. This is what you do, and you know, you're not new to this. This is not something you decided to do 2 weeks ago. This is something you've been doing for a while. And you know, positioning you as the expert in this area as well.
No, that's really helpful. It's reaffirming. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad, Jamie. No problem at all. Good. So let's look at who do we have next on our questions. We have Darren. Darren says, I'm a web developer with a team of 5, some in the UK and some overseas. We have had a few of our main projects paused due to the current situation, which will stop our income from the projects and also the ongoing ones. Some projects have completed and we are now struggling to sign off, which stops the final invoice. What is your suggestion to get these projects signed off and collect final payments? I have tried talking to them, but they just use the virus as a reason. Should I move to Debt Chase? Hey Darren, how are you?
Hi, I'm all right, thanks, Annette. You?
Good, I'm well, thank you. I'm not too bad at all. Tricky.
Yes.
Tricky situation. So my first thought is, does your contract have anything about time period between signing off project and invoicing in it? Is there any stipulation that, like, if you don't sign off within, I mean, this might be something to add in the future if it doesn't, but is there any sort of thing between, you know, if you don't sign off within 3 weeks, we'll send out our final bill anyway, or anything? Is there anything around that?
No, nothing around that. We've got around payments within 14 days, etc.
Okay.
The usual stuff, but not about completing projects, because they're all bespoke, and so it depends on the project and how we set them up.
Sure. Okay, got you. And is it that the people are signing off that you're, you know, within the businesses, they're just not able to get them, like get the right person to look at it because they are, you know, not in the office anymore? Like what reasons are they giving for nobody to agree it kind of virtually or online or anything like that? Because it seems to me like the people who would sign it off are probably still working.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's not a technical reason at all. I mean, we've been remote working for about 4 years, so that's not an issue.
Yeah.
It's more around the fact that they don't want to go through testing because they don't want to sign it off. It's that final stage where we finished the project. They need to do some testing to make sure it's all okay and give some feedback.
And they're saying they don't have the bandwidth for testing.
Yeah, put it on pause now because we're not sure where things are going. You know, come back to us later. But obviously that impacts on us as a business in terms of cash flow, because we planned not only our project time and resources, but obviously the income.
And you'll have presumably paid the team to build it already.
Exactly,
and now you've not been paid for the service because they've not signed it off.
Yes.
It's very tricky.
I would say it honestly be seen to be really harsh at this time and start debt chasing people.
That's what I was going to say. The problem with debt chasing is that you are going to get people who have a backlash against you for it and say, look, we haven't even signed it off yet, and you're invoicing me and sending it to debt collectors. You know, 2, look at what's going on. You know, you're going to get that kind of ranty response, I would imagine. So, and the fact that, you know, the process is that it needs to be signed off, it needs to be tested, signed off, and then you invoice, makes it very tricky to invoice. So,
I mean, a lot, as you can imagine, these are big bespoke projects. They're big amounts of money that we're kind of relying on as well.
Of course.
And so as a company, you know, in terms of this crisis, our company shouldn't really be affected because of the type of work we do. But in terms of other businesses paying us to go on to the next bits is really holding us back. I'm, you know, quietly panicking about how
sure
that will keep the company running if we don't get that, because other people are other people are running things like business networking franchise group across the UK, and she owes us about 15,000, and she's saying, well, actually, my whole income's dried up, I can't pay you, that's not going to happen. Like, ooh, ouch.
yeah.
We've done all that work, I have to pay all my staff for that.
Yeah, completely. It looks like Shari might have a point. I saw her putting her hand up. Let me unmute Shari and see. Oh, there we go, and see what.
Sorry. So, hi everybody. Darren, hi. I couldn't help myself because I've been a consultant with PwC before, and we've done a lot of projects with small and big size clients. And so, I'm always chasing for money, and I have no problem for it. I am like, I've done the work. I'm good with myself because I've done the work. Yeah. I'm okay with asking for money for it, and so on. And in normal circumstances, people are like, oh my gosh, you know what? It was 10th on my list. Let me go and do it. Some will be like, we're thinking of changing strategies, or some excuse, which is kind of like what's happening now, because everybody's hanging on to money, right?
Yes,
everybody's hanging on to, let me see what happens, let me see who I need to pay and stuff like that. So right now it's going to come down to your relationship with the decision maker, which is what I was like busy typing. Is it cool, great, or amazing relationship that you have with the decision maker? Because that makes a difference. And I think, like, I see it even in my business now, like where I've like slowly been putting some really, investing in the relationship. That's good. I can like pick up the phone and go, hey, how's it going? Those that I don't have a great relationship because they've always been standoffish, that I'm going to struggle with. And when it's my turn next, I'll say something similar to this, actually, because I'm also going into a debt situation, for debt. So for me, I believe the relationship, it starts with what relationship you have with the decision maker, and how much you can pull on that relationship to make a difference. Beyond that, we all got, I think we all get to be business owners and kind of say, okay, you know what do my legal terms say?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll pause there. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that insight very, very much. And and yeah, it's, it is a little bit of how much can you kind of nag them and push them towards the testing and the sign off, so that you can then invoice and get that out there. It is a bit about that, without a doubt. If push comes to shove and they're just making excuses and delaying, then you may get to the point where you want to say something like, if we don't have this signed off in the next 2 weeks, unfortunately, I'm still going to have to issue my invoice, and we'll take the project is completed at this point in time, to be picked up again in the future. And if there's more development to be done, then we'll obviously charge accordingly. Or, you might need to start going down that route, because you have got, are you, with the projects, are you able to, I know the testing's not being done, but are you still able to kind of deliver them as a final version, or not?
Yeah, it's delivered. I mean, they're on our development server, or on the live server that's going to be there. The mobile app's been written. It's all integrated. It's all there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
so
worried
you just
that
need to kind of flick a switch and it would be live.
Yeah, or make some minor tweaks to it. So 90% of the work's probably done. But I mean, I take on board what Shari's saying. Our relationships are very good. I'm a very good communicator with our either project managers or owners of the other side. But I'm also worried that a lot of them are services, and they're not going to be here in weeks, months to come.
That will be a problem, actually. If, depending on how long we go on for, the last thing you want is to have a number of websites that you have already paid for that you then don't get paid because the business goes under. And I think it's really important to, make sure that you do get paid for the work you've already completed, because you have completed this work. So yeah, I think it might be worth speaking to them just picking up, arranging time to speak to them and picking up the phone and having a call and just saying, look, this is a situation, we've already paid out for your website. Your website's ready, it's deliverable. This service has been provided. We will invoice you in I don't know if you want to say like 2 weeks time, whether you've signed it off or not. We can, at that point in time, we can transfer it live if you wish or not. But that, that is a position we need to be in, because you're holding off on signing off on this website that's already been basically delivered. Mm-hmm. Consulting T's and C's is going to be important. You might want to speak to a lawyer about that as well. I am not a lawyer. So you may want to speak to a lawyer about the legal behind that, and whether that is going to be allowed from a legal perspective too. But that would be what I would be tempted to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know,
that's all right. Sorry, it couldn't be of more help. It's a really tricky one.
It's good to talk to other people, get other people's input on it as well. So thank you very much.
That's all right. It's no problem at all. Does anyone have any other questions? Does anyone else have anything they want to speak about or raise? Let's go back to Karen's question actually as well. Let's see if we can get her. I'm going to unmute you, Karen. Let's see if we can hear you. It might be that maybe your iPad has a issue with the microphone or something like that. She's saying she doesn't know how to switch the microphone on. She says she goes into properties and measures for lease and floor plans. We are not going to do any work at all apart from your director's legal requirements. Okay, got you. So Karen, technically you would be entitled probably to furlough yourself then. We just don't know if the platform will be straightforward or not. We have no idea at this point in time. So it's difficult to know. That's kind of where we are with that. And let's have a look. Nicolina's saying she's got to go. Very helpful. Wonderful. Thank you, Nicolina. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. Anyone else got any other questions? Shari does. Here we go. Let's unmute you. There we go.
Yeah. So two things. Number one is, so I'm a property investor.
Yeah.
And so my thing right now is who's going to pay me and who's not as we go down the months, right?
Yeah.
And so risk analysis of, tenants, okay?
Yeah.
So my safest tenant right now is the one who is on benefits. Strangely.
Yes. I know, I don't think that's strange at all, because
they're gold and
their situation hasn't changed. Their situation is exactly the same. So if they were paying before, they can still pay. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's been good. And strangely, when I've done my risk analysis, my riskiest tenant has changed, because I have a few people who are on the front line. Not first responders, they're actually nurses and doctors.
Sure.
And to me, their risk profile has changed. Now, I'm looking at this not as a human being, okay? I'm looking at this as a business owner, and as a landlord.
Yes.
So I say the risk profile has changed because now I have to take health into consideration.
You do. Yeah.
Which is a very sad thing when I really, go back to this. So my question is simply this, over the next few months, the government has never liked landlords. That's fine.
Yeah.
We all have to just fend for ourselves.
You do. Fine. And they keep dropping some extra legislation in there just to keep you guys on your toes as well.
Exactly. So, so my problem is, and I know I'm not about to evict anyone. Yeah. That's not my preferred option. My genuine problem is, how do I get people to talk to me? Because I already have that debt going into this crisis, because one person is self-employed, so they're up and down. So they're we have tenants. My business partner and I have tenants in place who are not very good with their money. And so as much as I want to engage in the conversation, that's the big struggle for me in, you know, getting people to talk. So actually, I would like to tap into any wisdom as well as everybody else's, because other than the relationship, really, how can I get people to talk? Because it is very time for them. So I'll pause there.
It's very tricky. I would first off, if you've not done this, you know, be reaching out to them and saying, look, I completely understand, you know, things are crazy for a lot of you right now. You know, if you know bits about them, you know, it's like, how's Johnny's job? You know, just checking in on them and just saying, look, you know, should your circumstances change over this point in time, I'm completely here for you. Please don't panic. Please pick up the phone and speak to me. This is my number. This is how you can reach me. You know, it's that kind of thing. Maybe also sending them a text if you've got their mobile and just saying, look, this, you know, I get it. I completely understand. But I need you to speak to me if there's any worry at all about your rent, about the situation, please reach out to me. And I think it's, you know, maybe it is that you email them and text them every couple of weeks and just say, how are you? You know, doing it from a human perspective, like actually, how are you? You know, and that side of things, because of course you can't go and knock on their door and ask how they are, because we can't do that. So I think, you know, if you can reach out to them via various other means, email, as I say, text message, even things like Facebook Messenger, if you're able to contact them, just some way to just say, look, I get it, and I'm here for you as a human. You know, please do speak to me, because, you know, we can speak about the situation you're in. And you know, and just encouraging them that way, I think. Have you reached out to any of them
yet?
And
to be fair, I have reached out to all of them. I sent them a note. I've also sent them, here are the links to where you need to go. I don't know what you're saying, because I don't know really whether they're self-employed or employed, or they're, you know, all
or whether they've
things.
got a savings account with loads of money in that they can. I mean, you just don't know any
I don't really know. So so I have sent them the link. I am like being very, because if I wasn't super close with them before, I'm not gonna suddenly become very close to them now.
I get that. I get
because
that. Yeah.
You know, yet I am, so I'm thinking now that, you know, hey, I sent that to them 2 weeks ago. I'll probably wait another 2 weeks to, you know, follow up
and just say how you doing.
but yeah,
and I think it's about that. I think it's about showing willing communication from your side, to basically model that communication in, you know, you can't force them to reply, but in the hope that should they need to, they realize that your, you know, your virtual door is open to have a conversation about their own particular situation if they need to. Now, you may get some people who use this opportunity just not to bother paying rent, who are able to, and just choose not to. That's going to be an entirely different conversation. But whether or not you know, are even able to tell whether they're able to afford it and just choosing not to, again, is going to be very difficult, because of course, you know, evictions and things are not allowed for 3 months. They are on hold till June anyway. And of course, any rent that's not paid over this period is payable by them at some point under the agreement. But the problem will be if people start defaulting on rent, you know, that's a big chunk to catch up at some future point in time. And would their income ever give them enough leeway to ever make the catch-up payments? And then where do you go with that? That will potentially, for some landlords, cause some issues as well. Of course, you still have your costs as well associated with it. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, why don't people give renters a break? But completely understand that landlords also have costs and are also living off the rent, and therefore it's difficult.
And you know, it's interesting because we've chosen not to live off our rent at this time, because as a strategy because I don't know who's going to not pay into the future as well. Yeah, it's interesting times because, you know, I mean, in the past few months, we've been managing out the tenants that are that were already difficult anyway. You know, and so that's been helpful. But now I just have to see who's gonna, just by virtue of them not getting paid. If they don't have an income, how can they pay for anything, right?
Yeah, completely.
So yeah,
completely.
Yeah,
I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you. Yes.
Good. Does anyone else have any questions, anything they want to chat through, anything they want to speak through? I think I've gone through everything in the chat box. So let me know if anyone else has anything that they want to speak through. Either pop something in the chat box or turn on your mic and camera and shout and wave at me, and I will go through it. It doesn't look like anyone has anything else. In which case, oh, Sapphire does. Hi, Sapphire.
Just to say that I have a template that I can share with anyone that's got renters.
Lovely.
I've got a template letter that I've sent out to my tenants and got a good response from it, because it's sort of been very gentle, but at the same time being very persuasive and please pay me my rent kind of thing. But it's a gentle approach to it.
Lovely. Why don't, Sapphire, if you want to pop that over to me, then I can distribute that to people who need it. Do you have my email address, Sapphire?
Is it on the link that you sent out?
It will be.
Yeah, I'll send it there.
Lovely. Okay, yeah, pop it to me, and then if anyone wants it, I can distribute that out to them. That's very helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sapphire, for that.
All right.
Kirsten is saying, thanks for the call and the time. It's been very helpful. I'm really pleased, Kirsten, that has been helpful for you. So I hope that this has been useful to you guys. I will try and do another one of these again. I will give people more notice next time, because I know it was very short notice. I just wanted to kind of ram it into my diary this week to get a time in to do this session. So I am pleased that we've managed to do it. I'm pleased that it has been helpful to everyone. I will see you all around the internet soon, I am sure. But thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye, everyone.